This is your daily dose of all things royal.
Well, these are Bombshell explosive documents, a slideshow obtained by America First Legal, which is definitely the top-notch, probably the best law firm in the entire country when it comes to litigating censorship issues and protecting the American people from the abuses of this government, in part by the sunshine process, the sunlight process of their legal discovery and FOIAs and a variety of other tools they've used to manage to get these documents. But this is something I've been screaming about at the top of my lungs for 7 or 8 years now, which is this collusion between the U.S. and UK.
Same here, Mike Benz. I know this feeling. I've been screaming about this British prince on U.S. soil undermining our U.S. Constitution and violating American civil rights. Since coming onto the scene here in 2021, I have been warning everyone that we need to get this guy deported, as he has been meddling and interfering with our government pertaining to our First Amendment. Many of you who didn't want to pay attention, thought that I was a conspiracy theorist, who laughed at the fact that Harry and Meghan would be involved in something like this because you underestimated and thought that they were stupid. How do you British citizens feel that the UK government is deliberately censoring and suppressing your speech? Even though you have freedom of expression, you don't technically have freedom of speech. And this current Marxist regime that we have in place, that Harry and Meghan are tightly aligned with, have been selling America out.
You see, this is the transatlantic national security state, the transatlantic blob that I continually refer to. It's worth bearing in mind that the U.S. pays hundreds of millions of dollars every year to UK disinformation studies groups at the University of Oxford, the University of Cambridge, the University of Sheffield. There's basically no major London university that does not get U.S. taxpayer funding via the State Department or USAID in order to do what they call development of the counter-disinformation capacities there. That is to essentially subsidize their growth so that they can censor the internet harder, better, faster, stronger. And so seeing this new slide deck that America First Legal unveiled, it was from 2021. This is right after the Biden administration had gotten into office. And it was a high-level meeting between the British government's counter-disinformation unit, which is this, which basically spans everything from British intelligence to the British version of the State Department, which is called the UK Foreign Office, to their home services. And it included at the table from the U.S. side, the White House, the Department of State, the Department of Defense, our intelligence services. And basically what it did was it provided sort of a, here's what we're doing in the UK on internet censorship. Here's where we're skating towards. We have these new censorship laws. We have, here's how everything is structured. Maybe we should better synchronize what we're doing because we both face a common threat of populist speech on the internet. And so this is, this is the blob come alive. And one of the things that they proposed was closer coordination between the U.S. State Department and the UK Foreign Office on censorship issues. They explicitly, go far beyond national security in Russia. They go into things like election censorship, COVID censorship. This was 2021 while the COVID-19 pandemic was still in the process and the vaccine drive was still going. But what's important to know is that this was the same year that the State Department formally established so many of these censorship that I talk about, which were very alive and well from 2016 to 2021, but were informal and not as well capacity built as they've come to be. So this is a fantastic crowbar, I think, that can be used by the House Appropriations Committee if they decide to wake up from their coma and actually take action on this in terms of slashing the budgets of U.S. censorship programs, which are done in foreign collusion, including working with foreign countries to pass their own censorship laws in order to do a boomerang attack on Elon Musk and X.
To give a little more color to this presentation that was provided by the UK government, what they're showing here is the UK government engaging its foreign policy apparatus to further its censorship agenda and encouraged, actually, the US to do the same. One of the so-called significant benefits of this approach would be, according to the presentation, that the unified front of government pressure would encourage cooperation from platforms. Part of the UK government's presentation included a description of a UK initiative called the Counter Disinformation and Media Development Program, which was active in Eastern Europe from 2016 to 2021. According to their theory of change, one of the outcomes of this scheme was that the targeted populations would reduce identification with pre-existing social biases and increase support for gender equality and liberal democratic values. So if the light bulb is starting to go on, you'll now understand why Meghan pushed the race card so hard here. These terms may sound innocuous, but in practice, they are covers for left-wing social reengineering experiments. For instance, money from the CDMD program was used to fund the Global Disinformation Index, which runs an advertising blacklist for websites that they allege push anti-trans narratives. What these slides expose is the Biden-Harris administration's cooperation with ideological aligned leftist allies to push woke progressive dogmas while monitoring and censoring what Americans think and say. And we all know that this was happening because we experienced it firsthand through Meghan and Harry as a result of them being a part of this censorship industrial complex. So this meeting that happened on August 10, 2021, was attended by high-level staff from the White House, the NSC, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the CIA, the FBI, the Department of State, Treasury, Defense, Homeland Security, Health and Human Services, and U.S. agencies for international development, USAID, and global media, USAGM, as well as high-ranking officers in the Army, Navy, and Air Force. These are all people that Harry and Meghan, despite what you think, have access to today. During this meeting, the CDU outlined how they have been censoring the British public, and in these documents, it shows how left-wing authoritarian governments across the globe are working together to attack free speech. Currently, the UK is getting a wake-up call now with these censorship laws, but in this meeting, the CDU shared how this proposal would allow them to directly coerce social media platforms to ensure that the government's censorship demands were followed, similar to like what Canada has been doing. By creating a new duty of care, the proposed legislation empowers a British regulatory agency to demand the censorship of content that the UK government deems harmful. Many in the UK are getting a big wake-up call and thinking that this online safety bill might not have been such a great idea because now people are getting arrested and thrown in jail over Facebook posts. I know that my voice is small and not many people wanted to listen when I raised the red flag pertaining to this online safety bill and making noise about it because I did see it becoming weaponized, and here we are. Thank you to those that came and watched this interview with Imran Ahmed, who is the CEO of the CCDH based out of London, speak about his views on how speech should be regulated and addressed on social media. And I point this out, and the reason why I raise it is because, again, this is UK influence on our government and our administration giving recommendations around policy changes in order to clamp down and make the internet safer. Those that watched it heard all the buzzwords that Meghan and Harry vomit off into space about keeping kids safe and using that as a way to get in to circumnavigate the supreme law of the land, the U.S. Constitution. For those that didn't get a chance to see this interview, here's a little taste of this Brit who has been influencing the White House.
You know, your sort of thing of, well, I'm willing to tolerate the normalization of anti-Semitism because some people were banned for saying that men can't be women.
Imran,
I disagree with you on that.
You can't disagree with something I didn't say. Should you be able to call for an armed revolution on social media?
Well, do you think they should?
If we were living in the social media age in 1776, this country never would have been created.
In what way is Donald Trump?
He was banned from all the social media platforms.
Were you worried about his ability to get his message out?
Well, his ability to get his message out was definitely reduced significantly. As you said yourself, when you ban people from social media, you said it yourself, they lose reach, right?
For those that want to see the rest of this interview, I highly recommend it. I'll go ahead and put that link in the description box. Honestly, do you want these kind of people telling you what you can say and what you can do online? Do you want them having influence on the US government in telling them how to regulate speech? I don't think so. The CCDH is aligned with Harry and Meghan in this censorship industrial complex. We're going to see more of this happening now in Australia, of which laws are trying to be passed around speech. We also are seeing this in Canada. The United States, at least we have our First Amendment, and people are asleep at the wheel, not recognizing that this current administration is ready to sign over all our rights. The last 4 years, these Western governments have been selling its people out. We're seeing it happen in real time in the UK, and we're going to see it here if the election in November does not change what we have currently now. I think the most frustrating thing at this point is that there's still too many people who are not paying attention and who are asleep at the wheel, unwilling to take their head out of the sand to recognize that they need to do something in order to stop this. The people of the UK now, unfortunately, are in this place where, yeah, they cannot express themselves the way that they would like. Otherwise, there's consequences, and that's, the indication of a totalitarian government. If we don't push back here in the United States, we will follow the same fate, and that's not something that I want. And for my American listeners, I'm sure that's not something you want, particularly someone like Prince Harry, Imran Ahmed, and the rest of this censorship industrial complex telling you how you should think, how you should feel, and what you should do. I don't think so. Allow me to finish off this video with the perfect statement from Gene Hamilton, who is America First Legal Executive Director. He states, with no apparent appreciation for the irony that the First Amendment to our Constitution was adopted following our independence from Great Britain. These records show that the Biden-Harris regime apparently engaged with representatives from the United Kingdom on ways to more effectively censor the speech of Americans across the country. The Biden-Harris administration's desire to silence speech and control what information Americans are able to obtain is so extreme, so pervasive, and so over the top that they are willing to listen to foreign governments explain ways to better violate core constitutional rights of the American people. The final thought that I'd like to share here is that, look, I'm just a humble creator. I'm not part of the aristocratic world, nor did I go to fashion school. But I did go to university and graduated with multiple degrees as well as an advanced degree called a master's. Now, my master's allows me to do this kind of work in delivering to you intelligent information that does provide value. I may not be right about every single thing, but I'll tell you this, I'm pretty damn close. And that you can take to the bank. To my gorgeous, good-looking friends, especially my American ones, freedom of speech is essential to the success of our democratic republic and for the continued betterment of humanity. The United States Constitution currently is under attack, not only by foreign entities, but also by our own people here who have betrayed our country. This November, folks, please, if you're an American, realize what is at stake here and choose wisely, because elections do have consequences. But on that note, I will leave you with this information. Definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Everybody! I was such a fraud.